built that large house up on, as you turn to go up on Phillips Knob.
Hey, Liza. How are you?
Well, what kind of dog is it? She.
It's the,
Long lost run.
Oh, well, I guess that's,
He's-
anyway.
he's tickled, he's tickled to be.
Okay, well, I just wondered, I mean,
To the joint.
they've not moved it. Yeah.
I'll turn it over.
It does, doesn't it?
Brown ain't never.
Well, you're very helpful, Brian, for a change. Good evening. That, didn't mean to put that on the microphone, Brian. I hope you overlook it, kind of. It's nice to see everybody who's here in our crowd, and of course, our board members. Denise won't be able to join us this evening. She's got some electrical issues in her business, so we will carry on without her. Anyway, we will miss her. You have the agenda in front of you, board members, and I hope you've looked it over. Is there a motion to approve the agenda, or what is your pleasure? What is that?
I move we approve the agenda.
Okay,
And I'll second.
all right. So we're unanimous. The agenda is approved as presented. Okay, we have, Brian has very nicely brought me the public comment, and we have, Mike, you are here for the farmer's market and barn. Where is Mike? Okay, yes, if you'd like to.
Good evening, everybody. I just have two quick questions, probably could get an answer easily. I've read in the paper this week about the farmer's market, and excited about that. That's really a good thing. But I was just curious what has been done about the parking for the farmer's market. I mean, if Sam Young has volunteered that lot, that would be really good. But it seems to me that parking down there with 10 or 15 crafters or sellers, and then people that are going to visit, parking must be something that
Would be a problem.
has to be, well, I mean, it depends on what what's been thought about and going to be done about it. And the second question, and I probably sound like a squeaky wheel, but has anything happened about the barn down at the end of West Main? I mean, we've been talking about that now for about 2 years, and it's still there. It's still dangerous, in my humble opinion.
Well, it is, and if you notice, it has diminished somewhat.
Yeah, but
But it
it's
hasn't
still,
gone away. That's
No.
as far as we've been able to get with the owners. I guess we.
well,
could-
we tore down the building there before we're putting the farmer's market. Why didn't we just take the tractor down there and tear it down? I mean, it's just crazy, it's people are,
It is-
the
it's
kids
an-
are out again, and the kids are going to get in there, and some going to fall on somebody in it.
Well, it's also an eyesore too.
Well, that's a
That's an
bigger issue, but
understatement.
I mean, we we dealt with Dr. Bailey and got that done like overnight. So I just don't understand why it's taken so long to deal with that other issue.
Well, I don't either. Brian, I'm going to assign that to you to look into that for us, please.
Oh, okay. I will check on that this week, see what the
Okay.
status is.
What about the parking?
Jamie,
Has that been thought about?
Where is Jamie? He was here. Oh, Can you update us on that,
Yeah,
please?
so there are 19 spaces adjacent to the farmer's market, which comply with the town's parking and zoning requirements there. And then, of course, it is adjacent to the municipal lot with like a crosswalk there. So our anticipation is, and we've been in conversation with the neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That flex space.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your concern and interest. Our next speaker is Danny McIntosh concerning Senate Bill 241.
Good evening, Mayor, council, town staff, everybody, and thank you, Madam Mayor, for securing some quality entertainment for Saturday night.
We're looking forward to it.
I think Brian Girl and company is as entertaining and as good at what they do as about anybody I've ever seen.
Thank you.
That is great. Over the past 15 years, I brought this up several times with the town council, and I'm here tonight to announce that you will not hear from me anymore about golf carts. I won't be bringing it up. This is from the In Case You Missed It file. Senate Bill 241 from the 2021 session was signed into law the 14th day of June. And so I'm afraid that the window of opportunity to take advantage of maybe some electric golf carts within the city limits where we could have gone green and done a lot of things has been won up by the General Assembly. They have basically taken the specifications from a 500 Polaris side-by-side, if you're familiar with what kind of vehicle that is, and inserted that into the statute as a modified utility vehicle. So now anyone who's interested will have their opportunity to drive upon the public streets and highway in one of those come October 1st. And that's good news and bad news, I guess, depending on your perspective. I did see Gerald Barnett's name in the agenda, and I have borne witness to Gerald's entire career with the town. Gerald has always been consistent, competent, and capable. I think he deserves to be recognized. One more thing I did note, Madam Mayor, and this does have to do with you. I see that the High Country Council of Governments is going back to in-person meetings in July, and I do not envy your drive.
Well, I always ride with Johnny Riddle, so it's a good jaunt, and we always get caught up.
Johnny is a good conversationalist. I've made some of those trips myself. So,
But thank you for your concern and interest.
but that's a trip.
It is a trip.
It
It's been
is.
a trip for almost 8 years now, but I've enjoyed it.
But it is, and it's important.
It's
Important. Mark Bennett told me that it's important. And by the way, speaking of Mark Bennett, the younger Dr. Mark Bennett would have been happy to have seen the side-by-sides allowed on the streets and highways of our town.
You
There you-
Brian. I'll turn my 9 seconds over to somebody.
Well, that gives you just enough time to get to your chair. So, thank you very much. Appreciate those comments and also the update for us about the Senate bill, Danny. Okay, that concludes our public comments. So I will now ask for consideration of the minutes of June the 3rd. Is there a motion to approve them and or amend them?
I make a motion to approve it.
Is there a
Second,
second?
second.
Second, Russell? Are you in favor too, Bunny? Okay, so the minutes are approved as read. Thank you very much. We have no public hearings this evening, so we will just keep moving along. And we come to what Danny was talking about. We do have a special recognition for Gerald. He was hoping to come this evening, but he is working. So this is something nice for him to have. And if you've not seen it, it'll be up here after the meeting. It says, in appreciation of your many years of dedicated and loyal service to the Burnsville Police Department. And I think that's something you hit on very well, Danny. And we also have a gift for him right here with our signatures. So we hope he will be pleased and that he's happy where he is. We will miss him. He certainly was a very dedicated employee. That's for sure. We're now going to move to Jason Miller from, is it IDEX Lab? Okay, and they are zooming in, so who more or less is in charge of them? Who would like to introduce them? Or do they just introduce themselves? Okay, well, Jason, you are on and we are happy to have you. So we will turn the meeting over to you. It's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's a pleasure to be with you. Um, I'm going to try to share my screen and confirm that everything is on the up and up before I begin. So let me try that out.
Okay.
And I will ask for confirmation that you are seeing a web browser with a big word IDEX Lab on it.
We are.
Excellent. And I'm getting that feedback. That's going to be wonderful for me. So I'm going to give an overview presentation this evening about the IDEX Lab as it relates to the possibility of a project partnership regarding the building at 118 North Main Street, which has been for a long time the fire department and which could become in the future home for the police department and the public works office for the town. I'm joined today on the call listening in as my department chairperson, Dr. Brian Reichel, and Laura Lockridge, who is the development officer for our college. I asked them to come for their information and context of this evening's presentation. So I will try to move quickly through the presentation and get to the meat of our substance, which is the project partnership. So let me just start with, why are we here? We're going to talk a little bit today about the IDEX Lab program at Appalachian State, the continuing evolution of its mission and vision, and how we would propose a project partnership with the town to revision, renovate, and redevelop the building at 118 North Main. We would like to thank Heather Hockaday and Chief Buchanan, as always, for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. They facilitated the conversation, and we're excited to be here. So the point of this presentation is to give you a little glimpse into the purpose and process of the IDEX Lab as an applied learning environment in the College of Fine and Applied Arts at Appalachian State, to share with you some of our previous project products and services, to outline a proposal for partnership, and to then field any questions you may have about that partnership opportunity and our work in Burnsville and Yancey County, which this project would be an extension of rather than the initiation of. So who am I? I am an associate professor in the Department of Sustainable Technology and the Built Environment, which is a salad bar of words, and I never get tired of saying that. It's a lot of words because, well, academics named the department. That's just what we do. We use lots and lots of words. And I am the Associate Dean for the College of Fine and Applied Arts. I'm a practicing architect. I work with our IDEX Lab students and cohorts to develop project partnerships and complete projects of design or design build services in communities throughout Northwestern North Carolina and Northeastern Tennessee to date. And we're excited to continue this partnership with the town of Burnsville and with Yancey County. And I think Jamie McMahon, I saw him moving around and then heard his dulcet tones earlier. So shout out, Jamie. Good to hear you today. So the schedule of our brief presentation here is this opening. We'll present the IDEX Lab's projects and purpose. We'll propose our partnership, and we'll close to field questions. So where has the IDEX Lab been, and where has it come from? Over its first 7 years of existence, the IDEX Lab, which stands for the Integrative Design Experience Laboratory, has delivered 14 projects serving 9 different community or university partners, and has had in its cohorts over 130 undergraduate students and 12 graduate students who have worked on a variety of projects and project types. The IDEX Lab began out of a National Science Foundation grant, and in the pilot year of the program, 2 student teams of 8 members each completed the Allegheny County Farmers Market and the Valley Cruces Community Park Welcome Center, respectively. The Allegheny County Farmers Market is a 5,500 square foot under roof structure that is located in Krause Park in Sparta. And the Valley Cruces Community Park Welcome Center is just down an access road from the Candy Barrel at the Mass Store, which is probably the most prominent landmark in the high country for most visitors. So these two projects got us started where students were active in the design, construction, and commissioning process of these projects. In year 2, the IDEX lab completed a mobile classroom prototype for the Department of STBE with a 1.3 kilowatt solar array, 3 days of battery-based storage, the ability to serve 12 students and take their class to applied research sites across Watauga and Avery counties. What is interesting about this project and why it is notable, the students developed this project and built it in 1 semester, including completing the fundraising and gaining the donations for the materials that you see on the finished product. IDEX Lab 3 did an interior renovation of a downtown commercial space on Howard Street in Boone that was referred to initially as How Space, a community maker space and exhibition that would tie the university to some local businesses. And this gallery is now part of the Walker College of Business and has been rebranded as Walker Works. IDEX Lab 4 completed the mobile landing, which was a companion to the mobile lab, mobile classroom prototype, to give an outdoor teaching space on the summit of Beech Mountain for the department's Small Wind Research Initiative. This project was developed in 1 semester by a small student cohort of graduate students and then built by a subsequent undergraduate cohort of IDEX Lab students. In that same year, the students completed a master plan for Covered Bridge Park in Elizabethton, Tennessee, that included a comprehensive look at flora, at wayfinding, and at different architectural structures that the park needed in order to modernize its facilities and leverage what is one of the most photographed locations in northeastern Tennessee, the Covered Bridge in downtown Elizabethton. In 2019, IDEX Lab 5 experimented with a different curricular model, where we had completed projects previously during a full academic year or 2 semesters of work. We changed the model to give a sponsored studio semester in advance and then a single semester of IDEX Lab in the subsequent spring. IDEX Lab 5 participated in the development of the Life Empowered House, which was investigating the opportunities for local nonprofit Life Village to develop housing that was specific to populations of adults aging out of home care and subsidies funding who live on the spectrum of autism. And so you see here some examples of the students' initial research and concept development, and where we were trying to understand the problem of a very unique user group. This project culminated in 4 different schematic design proposals that were then moved into the IDEX Lab as part of the Solar Decathlon Design Challenge, where a team picked up the work of the sponsored studio, developed that work, and competed in the attached housing category of that particular national and international competition. A second team in the IDEX Lab in that semester, again, this is a 1 semester scope of work, completed a design for the catalog home to support the Watauga County chapter of Habitat for Humanity. The design of that project was built as part of the App Builds a Home initiative and was completed during a rapid build during the summer and early fall of that year. So what happened next? Well, we come along and find ourselves in 2020, where the IDEX Lab is moving to complete a conservation retreat on conservation land for entrepreneurs who need to reconnect with nature. And so they were looking at making tiny homes that would benefit this kind of conservation for profit enterprise. At the same time, another group of students was looking to develop a play-based learning outdoor classroom for Cove Creek Elementary School here in Watauga County. And then, I don't know if you know this, but we experienced a global pandemic. And so we pivoted to remote learning and halted the in-person face-to-face projects with those clients and sponsors at the client's request because it was deemed too difficult for the work to continue. And so the students pivoted into looking at thoughtful design responses to the COVID-19 pandemic and how they would address those problems. So that brought us into the space that you see me today, speaking to you virtually, instead of making the relatively short drive down to Burnsville. Some of the lessons that we've learned out of that particular project year allowed us to begin work this past academic year with Yancey County and the town of Burnsville on what has become the Yancey County Resource Center project, the home of the farmers market at the corner of Swiss and Main. And so a sponsored studio project was developed with Lynn Austin and Jamie McMahon and completed in the fall of 2020. A studio programming study for the project gave us 20 individual concept designs and 4 team-based schematic designs for the project, in all within a 10-week period of project performance. The scope of work allowed us to get some amazing design ideas and to work towards synthesizing those ideas in IDEX Lab 7 during the spring of this academic year. And what we discovered, flip back there, is that in this high flex flipped environment where students were meeting in person on staggered schedules, were able to visit the project site, and were spending an inordinate amount of time in the Zoom squares, developing a project that synthesized and accurately reflected all of the work that had happened in the previous studio. So working with Yancey County stakeholders, identifying a synthetic solution that brought in ideas of 3 of the 4 schematic designs: the mountain roofscape, the site planning strategy, and the presence of a 2-story building fronting Main Street, giving us some opportunities to really make an iconic structure for the community. From there, the project went into more detailed mode. So using a bunch of different software platforms, ToggleTrack to manage time, Smartsheet to manage the project's schedule and budget, and using the platform you are seeing here today, Miro, to manage the design process and to provide comments and feedback in real time and in asynchronous ways so that the project could continue developing while 28 students were coordinating their work and working on various phases of the project. A zoning package was developed for approval and for use in initial bids and understanding of costs. Because of the global price spikes in material commodities such as lumber, this project is a primarily wood-based structure. We went through a value engineering process. The faculty that have been working with that group of students, Professors Helms, Ramsey, and Rogers, worked very hard to pivot the students from a 2-winged pavilion structure setup from the zoning package and took us through into a single arm structure, consolidating the 2-story elements, making a single row of market stalls, addressing the civil and traffic flow requirements, addressing the landscape and hardscape requirements, really getting into the engineering and cost provisions of the project and the limitations of that, issuing a phase 1 construction package for the unconditioned market stall spaces, and then issuing a construction package for the 2-story facility as well. And so these documents and these renderings that you see represent, again, all of this work that you're seeing. These are just glimpses into, in this case, 15 weeks of work by 28 different students working with 3 different faculty, and essentially using this as a professional experience that really taught them a lot about the real world issues that surround design, construction, and performance. So that's a whirlwind overview to just try to drop you into the space that the IDEX lab operates in and the types of services, the types of documentation, and the types of construction that we are able to produce. So that leads to the question and the important piece of this presentation of how might we partner with you, the town of Burnsville, on 118 North Main Street. So we see this as a proposed project timeline that would occur over multiple academic semesters. We would begin this project in the fall of 2021 as a pre-designed phase in a sponsored studio format similar to that which you saw with the Yancey County Farmers Market that has now been rebranded into the Yancey County Resource Center. Part of the scopes of work that we would hope to tackle in that sponsored studio is a very clear and clairvoyant assessment of the space, structure, and systems of the existing facility at 118 North Main. We would need to conduct interviews and surveys with stakeholders, develop visual preferences, understand the economics and the environmental aspects of the project to develop an effective building program, which is a catalog of the spaces needed, the size of those spaces, the functional requirements of those spaces, and perhaps the material preferences for those spaces. That programming document would be used to help inform the development of a realistic project budget and would then in turn inform students having the opportunity to share concept design proposals, not things that would become the final iteration of the project that would be built, but instead to start galvanizing the community around the project, get some juices flowing about what will work and what won't work, because if we can see it, we can do a lot, we can get closer to what we really want versus simply speaking about it. The other benefit of concept design proposals is it can be used as proof of concept if you are seeking additional funding or external funding through grants or programs to support the project's overall budget. In the spring and summer of 2022, the project would enter a significant design phase in an IDEX Lab 8 cohort that would take and synthesize the designs as presented and the feedback provided by you as the project stakeholders, develop that design and document that design to obtain a cost estimate and see how costs are working with the design as drawn, to get zoning board approvals, to develop a sealed drawing package for particularly for any structural engineering work or systems engineering work that would need to take place, and work to prepare supporting grant proposals to help fund the build phase of the project. Note here is that we would anticipate there would be a group of students whose primary focus was the design and documentation of the North Main Street project, while another group of students were focusing on the build phase and completion of the Yancey County Resource Center. The following fall, we would enter a pre-con phase, pre-construction phase, that would be tackled by the representatives of the IDEX Lab, the IDEX Lab Collaborative Committee, where we would work with you as the project sponsor to secure that construction budget, secure stakeholder support in the community, and seek out gift-in-kind donations from material manufacturers and vendors. We would look to develop and confirm a construction schedule, make sure that we have filed and obtained the required permits for construction, and begun the material and product procurement process and for the build phase during the spring and summer of 23. This construction phase would bring in a new IDEX Lab cohort to implement the drawings prepared by the previous IDEX Lab group. The activities included would include deconstruction and demolition, off-site prefabrication of components wherever possible. We really value prefabrication and installation versus on-site construction. But because we're working in an interior architecture environment, there will be a mix and match of those two activities. We'll go through the inspections and approvals processes. We'll do the administration and management of the construction process, including reviewing requisitions for payment for any subcontractors that are necessary or that are working alongside our students, say to terminate electrical right? This is a thing that we don't really want our students doing. So we need a licensed electrician alongside them as they do that work. And then we would work to commission and complete the project during that spring and summer, that phase of the project. So that gives you kind of a sense of the timeline that we would propose for the scope of work. What that scope of work looks like is usually generated through educational letters of agreement and budgets that are provided. So we are proposing here a 2-year or 4 full academic semester partnership. The summers that are part of the construction phases would be tackled as continuances or internship opportunities for students to do construction activities as part of the project. So we would propose to complete educational letters of agreement on a semester by semester or phase by phase basis with a $5,000 fee each semester. That fee supports project overhead, student travel to and from the project site, as well as providing kind of teaching offsets. So I'm not going to say we're not compensating our instructors. What we're trying to do is be able to leverage some of that fee to provide the coverage for classes that we're asking those instructors to vacate in order to work and facilitate in this intensive immersive learning environment. You see here on that 5th bullet point, the cost of construction and financing is completed by partners. This is a very important piece of the IDEX Lab model. If a construction budget came to the university, if we held that money, the university will take a percentage of that money as overhead, as F&A. And so it is important to us that you are able to deploy the cost of construction directly. And so while we will review requisitions for payment and look at the project costs as they roll through, the goal is that we're not the ones cutting the checks for the construction materials or for the subcontractors. That way, every dollar that you're spending on the project is actually going into the project and isn't being used for overhead beyond these ELOA agreements. Those agreements have 3 basic appendices at work. There's a statement of work that outlines each semester's scope of work and the period of performance for that scope. Appendix B and C are essentially agreements by the student regarding intellectual property and copyright, saying that they're able to share the information that they develop, not reuse or license that. So they're able to put it in their portfolios, but they can't turn around and say if they developed a custom product, they can't then sell that product because that doesn't belong to them. So that gives kind of a big scale of project proposal, timeline, agreement, and the fee structure that we would request. And where are we going with all of this is a tripartite goal, is to provide for our students opportunities to apply learning versus simply talking about it, to develop their professional capability while they have the trampoline of an educational environment. For you, our partners, we want to provide quality design services, quality design documentation, and quality delivery of built product. And for the communities in which we work, we want to provide sustainable design so that the community can sustain itself, to have that type of impact and be a good steward of the university in the communities where so many of our students come from, have lived, and hopefully come back to work and raise their families. And so you see here kind of a mantra of the IDEX Lab regarding the educational experience therein. Famous Samuel Beckett quote, "Ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again. Fail again, fail better." The IDEX Lab is going into its 8th year and has never looked the same way twice. We continue to experiment. We continue to try to improve the way we give our students an educational experience that is meaningful while continuing to develop the professional production of building products on behalf of our stakeholder partners. So that gives you a very quick dive, 35 slide dive into the IDEX Lab. And I would like to thank you again for the time and attention. I'm happy to address questions that you may have or should certainly have out of all of that.
Thank you. That's an excellent presentation and certainly a project the town is very interested in, aren't we, Brian? Yes. So it's basically a 2-year project. Did I follow that correctly?
Yes, ma'am. The reason for the
Okay,
two-year project is, I think, to match up the academic calendar with what is feasible in terms of construction schedule and availability. The complexity, even of a renovation project, when we're dealing with municipal partners, these are really big commercial project questions that have to be answered. And we have to remember that our students are learning. And so to give them the space to learn and to make sure that we're providing return on your investment, we feel that a 2-year schedule gives us ample time to do all of those pieces and hopefully get not only deliver the project on time, but comfortably on time.
Okay, so if I follow correctly, I guess the action of the board is to express an interest in further pursuing this, and that Heather, our town administrator, will work with you on an agreement that would come back to the board to review. Heather, what are you thinking?
Well, tonight, what we wanted to do was just present this as an idea, one way to go with getting this building renovated. At this time, which I've expressed to Jason, we don't have funds on hand with the town to do the renovation. That would be a process that we would have to figure out where that money is gonna come from.
Right.
You know, partnering with them, sort of being on the fringe of watching what they did with the county. You know, it certainly is, economically attractive, to get this kind of, you know, all the professors that are working with these students hold licenses in various, different ways, either engineering, architecture, construction, contracting, that sort of thing. And they've done a fabulous job with the resource center and the farmers market. And, you know, I just thought it was worth proposing to you all that we take a similar path. You know.
And,
No, go ahead, buddy.
but did I not hear him say that not only do they help work through the concept development, which we're not even sure exactly, I mean, we must have some idea of what we want to go in that building.
Correct.
We do.
But they help define or refine our ideas.
Right.
But did I not hear him say that they also help with searching avenues of funding? Did I not
Yes.
hear him say that?
That's correct, isn't it, Jason? I don't want to speak for you guys.
We have in the past assisted various project partners in, if not preparing the actual, like, let's say, external funding or grant funding proposal, we certainly are providing images, summaries of the projects, things that can be plugged into those types of proposals. And we have, through our connections to industry, opportunities for to work with or contact, let's say, a material manufacturer. One of our long-standing partners has been Simpson Strong-Tie, who has provided a host of various structural fasteners and trim fasteners over the years for projects that we have completed, because it is something that it works for the company in several ways. The students then, when they think of a fastener, they think of a Simpson Strong-Tie fastener. So they're building clients for the future. In addition, it brings the company good PR, of course. And so what we would consider project gift in kind donations in some ways can help with the overall project budget because you may be getting materials at cost, donated entirely, or at a significantly reduced rate. So those are ways that we have in the past assisted partners with project costs simply by putting the biggest piece of our entire program is our students, putting the students out in the opportunities to meet and greet and work with these industry partners.
That's it.
And they also do the construction. I mean, it doesn't end with the design. They, you know, they are the labor for the construction. And Jamie probably can speak to, you know, how that has worked with the county and, you know, it came down to buying materials, coming up with a budget, and then the actual construction was done by the students.
Mhm. And now this project, I mean, are we talking about in the past or are we talking about the farmer's market for now?
I mean, they will employ their actual, I misspeak, Jason, you can correct me, but it's the spring, summer term will finish, their students will finish construction of this facility.
Of the farmer's market?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And it would actually be in tandem, I think, Jason's slide, maybe, to the beginning of your project, that would overlap.
That's, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity, and if we can, you know, work out the particulars, particularly with funding, it's worth our pursuing. Would you not agree, Heather?
You know, and I will say this, and I've said this, I think Jason and I have been very frank about it. I mean, it is a process. It is a longer design process than if we found the funding and went out and just hired an architectural firm or an engineering firm to come in and all in one swoop. But it is attractive to us
It's a lot more economical.
because obviously it's great to be able to partner with Appalachian State. We have alumni here amongst us.
We
with
do.
Appalachian State. And we have lots of people from our community that went there, and our students. It's always a popular school to visit and go to. So it's great to be able to have that connection. It also is economical for us,
Yes.
even though it would take a little bit more time, you know,
Yes.
to get the project finished.
Well, I mean, I think it's a combination of skills and hopefully of some funding. So basically, is there someone else that we're going to be looking at as a possible contender?
No, I don't have any other, you know, I wanted this to be presented to you all first and then, you know, make a decision if that is, if you need some time to think about that decision, that's fine. Jason understands that, but just, you know, to think about this process as one option for us moving forward on a rehab of that building. I know, you know, we're not exactly sure, Niles, are we? We don't have an exact date on when the fire department will be vacating the building.
Now, Niles, you said you would be out and over there by November.
That's what the contract says.
We're
but
gonna hold you to it. Well, I mean,
But at that point, you know, we would be into this process with the IDEX lab in the fall of this year.
well, I mean, I think it's worth our pursuing and looking at how we sit down with them and, you know, cross the Ts and dot the Is. I mean, how do you all feel as a board? I think it's a great economical opportunity for us.
I think it's the best way to go.
But from a design standpoint, you're just paying $5,000 a semester. I mean,
Yes.
Is it 4 semesters, Jason?
Yes, ma'am. And, you know, to put that into kind of professional terms, as an architect, if I were to submit a proposal for this particular project, it's about 3,600 square feet. It's an existing structure. There may be issues of abatement that we're not aware of. You know, that's part of what an assessment would do of the structure, is to let us know where the issues are. But even if I were to give a fairly low figure, because it's not my day job to practice architecture, and I said, okay, $10 a conditioned square foot is going to be the base architectural fee. Well, that's $36,000, and that doesn't include engineering or systems engineering fees or any other types of, you know, design professional fees. you're building that in, and we are still at this point in the IDEX lab evolution, kind of a lower cost than perhaps we could command in the marketplace, but it's because we are trying to build a sustainable partnerships so that the IDEX lab can sustain itself. So this is, one of our long-term goals, and there's two funding streams that are necessary, and there are two different types of funding streams. One is the projects, the funding for projects, and then there's funding for the IDEX lab as a program, and we don't want to put on the back of our project sponsors the funding of the program. So there's two different ways to look at the funding, and so we're trying to keep those two things separate, because you're trying to get a project service. You're not trying to underwrite a curriculum. So we see that as two fundraising goals: develop projects, develop funding for the IDEX lab separate from that.
Now, the way I understand it, if they don't have to be out of the building by a certain date before the school semester starts, because they're just going to be working on concept, right?
I mean,
So-
assessments, and that's,
Or
certainly- I think
assessment.
that can certainly be done while the fire department is still, has their equipment and things
In
there.
transition.
Absolutely.
And what the money we would have to come up with this fall is just $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And all that talent in-house, I don't see how we could turn that down.
Well, I mean, I think we should pursue it if the board is in agreement. I mean, I certainly would like to make that motion that we pursue working out the details and moving forward with it. Are you all in
I
agreement?
second that, but
Excellent. So we'll leave it in with you, sir, and with our capable town administrator to lead us forward.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and members of the board and council. I look forward to working through the ELOA process with Heather and Chief Buchanan. I always welcome the opportunity to speak to Chief Buchanan. I will thank you for that.
You are a lucky man.
what did he say?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. We will be hearing more from you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you again.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, that was very interesting, for sure. We will move on to our last presentation. We welcome Mr. Bill Baker and Wanda Profit to talk to us about something that's feel worth our hearing about and participating in. So the microphone is yours.
It's nice to be back in the room here and be active
It
and
is.
healthy. So,
Yes.
thank you very much. Wanda and I are both on the board at Parkway Playhouse. And that's a name that we haven't heard much of in the last year or so. It's been kind of quiet. So I'm happy to tell you that we have a board that is a working board at this point. Everybody's active and excited about moving forward. And one of the projects that I wanted to talk to you all tonight about is a memorial service that I think is going to present to you what we were looking to do. And that will be August the 8th. It's a Sunday afternoon. And this came up, and I'm sure all of y'all have touched on this a little bit. But with COVID, we had a number of people in our community that we lost, or a loved one, a relative, or a friend that was no longer with us because of COVID. And I personally had in my family someone that passed, and we couldn't even thank him because it happened in December in Virginia, and they couldn't. The undertaker couldn't even take on another funeral. So they had to hold it. Finally, they had to separate and cremation and had to wait their turn for that. So my family, in that instance, had no closure to the person being involved. And so we think as a board at Parkway, if we did something here for our community and let everyone have a little bit of closure. And we are going to have entertainment on the square that will be inspirational, that will fit with what we are trying to achieve. And the stage will be up from Craft Fair. We're tagging on that same weekend. We'll do Sunday where the chamber's doing Friday, Saturday for the Craft Fair. We'll come on in on Sunday afternoon and do the memorial service. And we're going to use all local entertainment. We won't be bringing people in from Asheville or Tennessee or anywhere else. There'll be people that are here that we know and we love, and we know what how they will perform for us. Another thing that we're going to have up near the stage is we're going to have a message board. That if anybody wants to write a message on the board, because we all might have a friend that lost, like we do have a friend, all of us have a friend that lost a brother in California. So we can send her a message about her loss and our grief for her. So that's the idea of what we are trying to do. This will not be a thing that we'll have food wagons on the square or anything like that. It's not going to be that type of event where we are having food and that type of thing. And it will just be a short time. We're looking at from 4 to 6. And we've asked about closing the street an hour before. So people will be able to move across the square. So that's in a nutshell, what we are trying to accomplish with this. And what will happen, we feel, it'll show the community that we are caring and we're alive and we're well and we're moving forward with Parkway. We have some really good plans that we are working on for our performances and all, still based on what we're allowed to do, how many people we can get into the theater. And a good bit of work has been done in the theater already. So I think we'll all be proud of seeing what's happening there. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have, any concerns that you might have about the event, anything that you can add to that you would like to see us do.
Well, I think it's a wonderful idea and a great way to bring us together and bring closure.
Yes, and I think that's the term that I have is like when someone's gone and you can't have closure to it, it just goes on and on. We have it here. So this way, it'll give our community, and I'm not restricting it at all. We're not restricting it to just Yancey County. If we have people in neighboring counties that want to come, we'll have visitors here that will be visiting friends here. They're all welcome. So we're not excluding anyone, but we're remembering our friends and family that we no longer have with us.
So you are requesting that we honor your request for a road closure, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so is the board in agreement with that? You would want the road closure to be an hour before?
Just an hour before.
Okay, so,
And Madam Mayor,
Yes.
down in Chief Buchanan's
oh, excuse me. Chief.
report, he
Yes.
has several road closure ordinances. We've got for the Craft Fair and for this event and for Old Timey Days too.
Oh, okay,
So
It'll be addressed there.
You won't need to vote right now,
Okay.
but you'll be able to address
Okay.
it then.
All right, well, we'll move on to some, any other comments and information you'd like to share with
One thing I
us.
would say is that, of course, 2020 was the 75th anniversary of Parkway Playhouse, and the first time ever it was closed. And as I look around, I see some of you that had family members that kept the Parkway Playhouse going, and we all love it dear to our heart. And we just want the community to know that we, as Bill said, we are alive, and, you know, we want to resurrect it and just make it better if we can. So just want to thank the town and then the chamber as co-sponsoring this event. So we appreciate it.
Now, who is the chairman of the Parkway Playhouse Board?
Cassie Cone and Jennifer Bueno is the vice chair. Jennifer's husband's at Glassboro. Cassie is here in Easy County, I'm not sure where. But they have spent an enormous amount of time, you know, at the Parkway, and just Jamie's on board, so we're in good hands. But we're all working hard trying to.
You know, technically, to my way of thinking, there wasn't a main stage, but there were children's classes and that kind of thing. So I don't consider Parkway was actually closed.
No, the children's classes, they had.
And they had
online
Zoom classes and all like online, so Parkway persevered that way, and technically in my mind, it was still open.
And
Maybe,
we haven't played this fall.
I know, but I mean, even last year, to me, it was not closed. There were no main stage productions, that's true. So many places weren't, but to me, Parkway still persevered. She was open because she kept on with programming. And I think that should be, you know, we should give her credit for that. Don't you? I mean, really.
A lot of people worked hard to make it happen.
So I think that says a lot for Parkway.
Well, you mentioned main stage. And I'm gonna bring this up because invitations went in the mail this week. And we are having a fundraiser. And it looks like this is really going to happen. This will be limited, but a very high class, high dollar event that we feel is going to bring in some dollars to really keep us going. So that's exciting. What we're gonna do, the dinner will be served on the stage. The tables will be on the stage, so it'll be limited. But we'll have really nice high-end dinner served on that stage with entertainment. Some of the actors and some of the young people participating in that. So look forward to that, because the invitations.
Do keep us posted. That sounds very interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation, and we will certainly be in touch with you about it and looking forward to it.
Yes, we'll have, our brochures will be out, we'll have posters out, it'll be in the newspaper. So we're a good month out, so we'll really move forward now.
Very good.
Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you very much, the two of you, for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 6, which is the council manager form of government. You have a copy of the ordinance, and before we take action on that, I would like for Heather to cover for us that once assuming we approve this, what is the next step and so on that puts it.
So if council does adopt this ordinance to change the form of government, then the next step would be, we have to run a notice in the paper saying that council has passed the ordinance, and 30 days post that publication, if no one has filed a petition to have a referendum and hold a public election on it, then it becomes valid
And then it will be sent from there to the Secretary of State's office as an amendment.
Okay, so this is our opportunity to vote, and if we vote yes, we move forward with those procedures, and if we vote, if it's, we vote it down, then it's dead and we move on, I guess.
Mhm.
So
So,
question on the referendum.
Yeah.
To put it up for a vote.
If a citizen can petition the council to, or a group of citizens, they have to get, I think, 10% of the registered voters, a minimum of 10% of the registered voters on a petition to have a referendum. And then we would have to hold an election. And if they did that, you have to hold an election and let the public vote as to whether they wanted to change or not. And they have 30 days from the date that this is adopted. Well, from the date of publication. No, from the date that it's adopted.
so Heather, I'm confused a little bit. So how does the public then vote?
We have to hold an election.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just like any other referendum.
okay. So, any other questions for Heather that we can answer at this time? Well, then as someone who firmly believes in this change, I'll make the motion that we, which I can do, that we vote on the ordinance for amending our charter to a manager form of government for the town of Burnsville.
So you made the motion, did you?
I
just
did.
now? I thought you then said you couldn't do it. or
No, I
something.
said I can. Sometimes people think the mayor can't make motions, but I can. So I made the motion, and is there a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor were minus the board member, but all of those in favor, I guess say yes, or raise your hand.
Well, I've seconded it. I'm in favor.
Russell, okay, so,
I think I'm going to have to say no, so,
okay,
at this time.
all right, so there are 3 yeses and 1 no, is that
Right.
correct? So for all practical purposes, the motion is carried. And then we will move forward with the next process, procedure that
Publish
has,
the notice.
Yes.
Next week.
yes. Okay. We'll move on to, speaking of Heather, we will move on to her administrator's update for us. So Heather, before we're saying yours.
Usually start out with COVID-19, looking for the day that I don't have to do that. But things are much better. Yancey County is still on the state's COVID county alert system as a light yellow, moderate impact. But I noted that Madison, Mitchell, and Avery are all in the green column now, so hopefully we'll follow them soon. Very low transmission.
How'd they get ahead of us?
I don't know, but there you go. The next item is the special order of consent with DEQ and the state regarding our need to do repairs and improvements to our wastewater treatment plant and collection system. The engineers requested more time from the regional DEQ office to conduct their assessment of the wastewater treatment plant and collection system. They have required us to install a new flow measurement weir out at the plant that has been fabricated by Dooley's Fab Shop, and Shane and his crew are working on getting it installed. And then there will be at the end of next week, somebody from ISI who does all of our monitoring of these systems to come out and calibrate it for us. What they're looking for is to get more accurate readings. The weir that was there was so corroded and damaged that they do not feel all the data that it collected was adequate or sufficient. We will be, I think they'll have most of the SOC application completed by the time they have collected this data. They're expecting a month's worth of collection, and they should have what they need. As it was explained to me, why it was important is that there's going to be parameters on our flow. The state will give us additional allocation, and then there'll be certain benchmarks that we have to meet. So they want to make sure the data that they have to begin with is accurate and correct, because they don't want to set a benchmark and then it looked like we met it and we actually didn't meet it and that sort of thing. So they just need it to be correct. I had a long talk with Tim Heim from the regional office Tuesday afternoon. You know, he's on board with getting this done as quickly as possible. But he understands the engineer's point of view on wanting to have accurate data in terms of putting the agreement together. So he has been in contact with them also. The West Main Sewer Interceptor Project, we still don't have our contracts back from State DEQ. Once we get those, we can move forward with contracting for both the administration of the $2 million grant and the engineering, preliminary engineering for the project. I prepared RFQs for the engineering. We went ahead, the state told us that we could go ahead and get those out. We just can't sign any contracts with anybody until we have a contract with them accepting the grant money. And they had told us by the end of the month. Leslie and I have both been to trainings this past month, and they said they thought they would be ready, but we haven't seen them yet. So they've got a lot on their plate too. But anyway, we did get the RFQs out for engineering services. Chad got those out and up on the website and published in the paper. And we had to do, I think, at least 3 direct solicitations. We got all that done, and we're just waiting. Proposals will due back the 23rd of this month. And then we'll put our committee together to review them and make some decisions. And I mentioned Leslie and I both attended grantee compliance training this month. So we've done so far everything necessary to get this money. Water line extension for Little Leaf Farms.
Yeah.
The county at their last meeting did sign the memorandum of understanding with us about the matches. They
Good.
agreed that if there's any match money needed, that they will make that match
That is
from
wonderful.
local dollars. We appreciate that. I attended a workshop, a Zoom workshop for the ARC application yesterday morning. Kelly Coffey with High Country was on that call too, and he has been sort of involved in putting the application together. He's requested some documentation from us, so we've been back and forth doing that. But I think the full application grant is due at the end of this month, so we should have everything good to go for that. Stormwater GIS mapping project is going along really well. I got an email from Jessica Welburn. The project was ahead of schedule as far as the field work, and they're starting on the mapping on the south side of 19, which I think is the last leg of that work. Have a meeting with her and Fieldtree next Wednesday. And we'll talk about, once she gets all the data collected, how much longer it's going to be before she has an actual product that we can use out in the field ready to go. One thing I'll add on grants, we did finish up the grant application for the bicycle and pedestrian planning with DOT, and David Grant submitted that for us 2 weeks ago.
Good.
We do have on my list a change order for the OMC pump station improvements.
Yes.
The contractor submitted that. This isn't going to require any more money from the town. It's all covered through the loan that we already have from DEQ. But they added some, and I might defer to Shane a little bit, but they added some piping and some valves that and some systems that would allow us, if we did have a pump failure, as we've had in the past, that caused these huge
Yes.
spills, to just be able to pull in a mobile pump and plug it right in and go on about our business.
Wonderful.
We'd avoid, it's a bypass system, which would avoid, we had those goblin pumps for months and the above ground bypass and all that was very expensive, not to mention all the pumping halls, until we got that whole thing set up. So that would be good. They're also installing a flow meter, which is going to allow us to be able to keep a better, accurate records of what, comes through there.
So
How much comes through there? We know what comes through there, but anyway,
So do you need us to approve the change order?
I will need you to approve the change order and authorize the mayor to sign
I'll
it.
make a motion to approve the change order
And to authorize me, the mayor to sign it.
and to authorize the mayor to sign.
Thank you.
I'll
Russell. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, well, it's unanimous. You have both items approved.
Town center roof update.
Yeah.
What I know about that is that Chad has been on it and it's done. So if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, they started last week and it finished Monday of this week.
Wonderful.
And the inspectors from the material manufacturer will be here in maybe 3 weeks, he thought, to inspect the installation, make sure everything's the way they like it. The builders from Eagle will be on hand during inspection. If anything's not up to snuff, they'll be here to fix it. So we get that 20-year warranty.
Very good. Thank you very much, Chad.
You'll be able to test it out tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
We've already had a hefty shower while we were in here.
Yep.
Okay,
The next item on my list would be the Cane River debris removal project. The county got some money through FEMA to do, debris removal along the Cane River. Get in there and get out, I guess, dead trees and things that are logged in that might, in the event of a flood, not wash down and knock out a bridge or something like that. We were on their list because we do own property on the Cane River where the intakes pumps are for the raw water and also at the wastewater treatment plant. Shane and I discussed it and I talked with the county manager, told her we certainly would want, some notification if they were going to do any work around the raw water intake, so that we could shut that down and not have whatever gets stirred up from the debris removal. And I'm not really sure if there is very much up there that they'd have any work really to do there.
Coordinate whatever.
Yeah.
That big red oak in the river right above it, which I'm for 10 years.
Well, so there's an agreement that we signed basically allowing and authorizing them to do it. So I just need a motion to authorize the mayor to sign that agreement.
okay, is there a motion for the mayor to sign that agreement?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, who seconds it, please?
I will.
Judy seconds it, and Brandon, you and I are in agreement, so it's, got it.
So the next thing I have is the discussion of the French Broad charging station. So French Broad Electric, I think reached out and contacted Jamie first, and then I met with them a couple of weeks ago and Jamie. They are doing a pilot project where they're going to buy some electric vehicle charging stations.
Great.
They want to put one in Mars Hill and they want to put one in Burnsville. We looked at some possible sites. I think the best site from their point of view to drop this charging station in would be the town's municipal parking lot. It is a 240 volt charge, so it's not one of the real high volume, charge up in an hour kind of thing, but it's better than plugging it into your wall. They will purchase the unit, they'll place the unit, they'll pay the maintenance on the unit and the electric on the unit for 5 years. And then they will turn it over to the town to take care of. They said there's a $600 a year fee for the company that makes it to maintain it.
So
there are options to make them, where you're actually, they're like metered. And we kind of talked about that, the pros and the cons of it. You know, it's just one. They have talked about possibly, if it's successful, locating another one somewhere around town.
Sounds great.
But, you know, if that's something that you guys are interested in, I can, you know, if you want more information from Tracy, I think they were thinking the fall. Have you heard anything new?
Tracy this morning,
I think it's a great idea. I mean, we ought to give it a shot.
How many cars? does
It
do?
would be allowed that you bet two.
I was just thinking about parking, we're limited on parking, if it's gonna be 10 cars sitting in there all the time being charged.
No, there's only, my understanding of the unit is that it will charge two at one time. And, you know, we could always put up signage that says, you know, whatever, 4 hours, 3 hours. I don't know that.
How long does it take your car to charge?
Well, because I plug my car into a wall. I do not have a charging station, which I very much would like to have one. It'll take it about 10 hours to charge fully if I'm down. But you know what, I'm gonna tell you, I hadn't seen one lick change in my electric bill.
Really?
Nope. But now, Mr. Levin was quick to point out that it's not the end user who sees that, but it's them as the provider that sees a big bump if people are trying to charge during peak times. And that's one reason they want to have control of the unit for this period of time, so they can see if that's going to be an issue.
Well, maybe most people would want to charge at night because that's when they wouldn't be using their car.
Maybe so,
They
or
just go park.
sometimes people will
Or
just,
people-
I mean, I know they have them in the parking decks, like at the Buncombe County offices, and when I would go there, I would park there and charge while I was at meeting, you know?
And maybe just a little at a time.
Yeah, it didn't, I couldn't get like a full charge from that.
People are
but
going
it
to
was-
visit for a while here in town, plug it in and go do what you're gonna do. Go. I think it's a great idea, just,
I
it's a
do too.
convenience for people, they'll say,
Well, we do not have in Yancey County anywhere a a
Charging.
public charging
and
station.
people.
So I think they're thinking that it's gonna come, and
Yes.
let's introduce it and see where it goes.
I'm in
That's
favor of
great.
it.
I am too. Do you need us to approve that or it's just, we're gonna give it a try, period?
I mean, I think I could go ahead and tell Tracy if
Okay.
you all are okay with that.
Sure.
That-
think it's a great idea.
And if we want him to come before they get ready to install, to kind of give you more information, I don't think he would have a problem with that. As I've been told, it's just like putting a drop cord in a parking lot, it's not, they have to have a power source to connect it to, and we've got to have a phone pole there.
Okay,
Well, and
well,
this is the future and we need to
let's give it
start
a,
somewhere,
give it a
so.
shot. Okay.
I have mentioned we are, we're able to get some, group discounts with Asheville Tourists. So we put it out for our employees, July the 13th, it's a Tuesday night. The tourists are playing the Greenville Drive. If anybody amongst you all would like to go, we're getting a ticket.
I would say I was very disappointed when I read the packet, because I just read the agenda and I thought we were having a baseball game.
Well, apparently the mayor did too. Thought we were gonna go to Asheville and play baseball.
I was ready.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, we are planning for our employees do not get to take the craft fair off. And, the county usually does their annual employee picnic on that Friday. So we're thinking the Friday after that, they've got their new park area up there with their picnic sheds, that we would have ours that following Friday. And in that is going to be a cornhole tournament, Mr. Fox. And the grand prize for winning the cornhole tournament is going to be custom-made cornhole set by Mr. Chief Lord Buchanan. And I can attest that he can make really good cornhole boards.
They're
So,
probably already done in their Carolina, right?
no, we're putting the town of Burnsville on them. It's not gonna be Carolina, but anyway. So you have an opportunity to be competitive.
Yes.
The last thing I have is the tax report, and we're trickling in more payments on 2020 and everything looks good. I think we're down under $18,000 over on that. So Jackie and I are watching it. Feels like it's where it ought to be, and some of those people are gonna pay and some of those people
Yes.
maybe not, but we're still working on it. So,
Okay, well, that is, I mean, if you look at that, you can see why Heather is, you never see her, she's so busy. It's a good report, Heather. Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Dale, it's a pleasure to have you with us this evening as our Public Works Director, so we will yield to you now and look forward to hearing your report.
I guess first off, Stowe MC pump station, Heather covered the biggest majority of that already, but basically it is very close. The plumbing was finished up yesterday. I think the biggest majority of the electrical is done. They've test fired the generator, everything passed on it. I think it's still like well, I guess one of the last things would be transferring the SCADA equipment over to the new pump system. But that will be done after they get everything running on the pumps. I don't know exactly when the pump guys are supposed to be coming back to test fire the pumps and make sure everything's good. Like I say, all the plumbing work is done, everything is tied in. So that's about what I've got on the pump station. The second thing there, the source water resiliency and response plan.
Yes.
That is not correct. I'll give Chad the wrong name. It is water system risk and resiliency assessment that actually goes to the EPA. And the only thing I need your all's approval to certify this with the EPA. And basically what it boils down to being is they want you to do a risk and resilience for your water system, basically cyber attacks, physical attacks, natural hazards, anything of that nature. And it just kind of gives you a good outlook on your system as far as if you have enough resilience built into it with generators and backup pumps and all that. But I worked with Keith Buff on this with North Carolina Rural Water, and we got that done the other day. But the only thing I need your approval so I can certify it with the EPA.
Well, I think we can do that. I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been second. How say you, Bunny? And
I'm in agreement.
okay, so there you go.
All right, as far as the new fire station water line, we have got a proposal from High Pipeline to do that job.
Yeah.
It's $31,691.70 is what they've come up with. We do have all the pipe, all the fittings and everything already, so that price is for, the work on it. I guess we need your all's approval.
Is this from our budget or your budget? I mean, how does that work out?
well, and I may defer to Leslie a little bit on that. We had planned on being able to use some of our first tranche of this ARPA money, which we haven't gotten yet, on that. And that's what we had, because they'll let us use it on infrastructure, water and sewer. And so we had, that was our plan to use it on that, but we haven't actually gotten.
We don't
And
have a plan.
Well, today I asked the question and I was told that if you have all of your paperwork in, you should be starting next week. They'll be releasing funds to non-entitlement units, which is what we are. And so And then they'll just keep releasing them until they've given it. I mean, we had everything, they told us we needed to have everything in before May 18th. We had everything in before May 18th. Well, before May 18th.
So we should have it next week, is that what you're saying?
Well, next week or possibly the week after, I mean, we don't know. We're just, whenever they punch our number and send it out, you know, that's the way it is. But,
So we-
what do we have in this budget for, Shane, what's the timeline, or Miles, or somebody, what's the timeline exactly on that? ASAP.
It's holding it. You gotta have it done in place.
Excuse me, so
We'll have to be on the budget and pay for portion project ordinance. And we can pay, project ordinance.
so that would allow us to move on forward with it until the money comes in.
Right.
Do we need to make a motion on that?
So did you say we're waiting on American Rescue Plan money for this?
We are. And I
What do
don't
we need to do
know
now?
the answer to that.
But they need to start.
Yeah, I see, but.
Do we not have anything in the
That's
budget?
what
Well,
We don't.
I know, but it's we brought here and they all.
There's something else to pay for.
Yeah, I mean,
Look at
I know, what are you saying down there, Niles?
There's $50,000 in the fire department capital outlay that I put in here just for things to leave the building that could be used as reimbursement. But there's another item coming up too that
yes.
bring out too, along with those lines. If putting the money back from not expecting, this budget is out of reserve.
And that,
Well,
So we're waiting on this to get started, right, Shane?
it is.
Yeah.
The ARP money is budgeted in the
Well,
water
it's
and
holding
sewer.
up the pay and all that.
Oh, so it's holding up things until, so we need to keep moving. So what are you doing about it? Besides robbing a bank?
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out is because the ARP money is budgeted in the water and sewer budget, the enterprise. It has to go back in there, and where we take it from there,
because I mean, it makes sense to do it,
yes.
but I mean, it could be under that.
But they're gonna, I think we need to do it from there because they're gonna want to be specific to show that we used it for water and sewer expenditure. And even though we're putting a water line, if it comes out of a general fund,
I can do it.
So do we have to
then
wait?
code it to that line.
Well, let's clarify what we're doing. You're gonna cover it and then reimburse? Did you all hear that?
From the water.
I think it'll be okay.
That sounds logical.
Just take two. Do we need a motion on there or just you all?
Yeah, I think, well, Leslie's gonna have to bring back the budget amendment once we get the money.
Well, no, it's already budgeted for
Oh, yeah.
unless it's more. I'll have to bring a budget amendment for his other. And the change order, and we just.
Right.
But we're clear on what we're going to do to help get, because not doing it is holding up progress. So if you want
If it's
to.
in there.
We're supposed to get this the 15th of May.
We were supposed to get this the 15th.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
So it's kind of right, but we don't want to hold it.
Absolutely not. So, so did you understand what we're doing, Shane? Probably not.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud.
Yeah, I'm good. We're
As
good.
long as we can get you the money, then we can cover it, okay?
You got money.
All
We
right.
got money.
I guess we would need them to accrue, moving forward with Hyde.
I make that motion.
Now, second.
It's done.
if you say we can do it,
Great, okay.
It's coming out of the water and sewer budget, yeah.
Okay, so a very good report, Shane, and you got your money. Money, okay. Leslie, speaking of money, we'll move on to you.
Well, I think we talked about it last month. So I'm trying to get this new budget implemented and clean up this old one.
Okay.
Changes to any features and misses.
All right, well, we did enjoy your good presentation last month. Niles, we're gonna yield to you to tell us about the fire department and whatever.
Thank you, Mayor. We, in our calls, as far as the call report from last month, we had the 29 calls June. For here, we told 189. That was kind of scattered all over where the types of calls. We're trying to carry on with that. Back to the building itself, which is project update. I'll let you know where we are as far as what's been done, maybe since you're busy. The majority of the outside painting is completed, with just a couple of small sections where they had not finished the siding that will have to go back and be completed. All the drywall has been installed. The first coat of paint's been put on the drywall inside. The window trim has been put in place. The door installation inside began. And again, this weekend closing that end of the metal still open. About 30 days closed and received before rain came. The electrical works underway. They're putting lights in the bay area and installing some of the rolls for the ventilation system to take the diesel exhaust out of the bay area. The antenna and the pole that was at the Cox's Creek Picker site, which county decided that they weren't using that and that they could use our radio dispatch. They moved that pole, excuse me, to our station yesterday. I'm sorry. And they got a phone.
Need some water?
Oh,
Well, that's all right, Niles.
we, the other issue that we had was the paving. You remember that? Early on, we, cut some of the finished surface on the pavement to try to save some money on the contract. There was a base coat, I forgot what it called, binder. The binder was to be put down on the left, with 2-inch surface to be put on later day, which meant all our curb and gutters and our aprons were going to be 2 inches higher than the binder. Sam called me a couple of weeks ago and said that they would really like to put the finished surface down so that everything can be on the level it should be, so that the drainage will take place properly. And he first came to me and said that he could put that 2 inches of finished surface on for $50,000, and then came back a week or so later and said he thought he could do it for less than 40. So,
Okay.
I don't know whose contractor or he did go, but anyway, he seemed how he could do that. So we would need to probably pull some money back out of the reserve and that amount to cover that. If it's the pleasure of the council to do so. We did, thank goodness, I think, outside of some things you had to do to make some payments and whatnot, we came out positively on the budget, which kind of pleased me after we paid our interest or payments for a year. So I'm just kind of delighted to see that we had some money left over in the budget, so that was helpful.
So you need us to approve you're pulling money out of reserve?
Yeah, did not do that 2 inches. Final payment.
Okay, I make that motion.
I'll second.
Russell? And Buddy. Okay, so there you go.
Now we're this.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Well, I know you over there keeping your good eye on it. We're moving along.
Well, but that will hopefully get done on that schedule, but So one thing I have to advise you about, even though we finish it, the state of inspection, state fire.
Okay, well, that's good.
And I talked to Mary Ann last week, and he wants to do that inspection or inspection at the same time. He said it would be at least the probably.
End of the year? Good golly.
So, we'll see if his schedule improves. See you. If here's going to be quite a bit of now that's inspection, which is just inspection since you have all the needed for your fire inspection. So
Okay,
that can be done in one day, so.
well, keep us posted. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, then, moving right along, Brian, what say you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Passed out our activity logs for the month. You have those. It's been a
Yes, we
pretty
do.
steady month. The couple things that I have to mention, we have already been brought up, the road closure ordinances. Over the past several months, we've had, it's changing louder and softer. We've had a couple of requests. Those will be the crash fair, the COVID memorial that was mentioned earlier, and Old Timey Days. I've sent off to the state with our process for them to approve those. We got approval back last week. So then our next step is for you all to pass an ordinance closing those roads. So I would need a motion to approve those ordinances. You should have a copy of those somewhere for the mayor to sign, I'm assuming.
They're in the packet.
They're in the packet, so do we need to officially approve that? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
please. You can pass those. Those are ordinances that we pass.
Okay.
I have to send the copies of those back to the state once that's done.
Okay, so I'll make I will entertain a motion to approve those ordinances.
I'll make it.
Is there a second? Judy? Okay, so.
Yes.
And again, those three events, just so, you know, the craft fair coming up, the COVID memorial, and the Old Timey Day, which is in September. Then I don't really have any update for zoning and code enforcement. We've had a few projects that we are in the early stages on and had some discussions about, but not major at the moment as far as new zoning projects. If anyone has any questions, I'll turn it over to Chad.
Okay. Thank you very much. That moves us right along to Chad and the events, please.
All right, and the events, mostly on the square. There was, your packet was two listed. One's a little unique, the first one, coming up Saturday. They're requesting to close Ray Street, which is between Hammond's and Memorial Rand's businesses. They want to close the part of the, kind of the top of the hill part, right stage, have a concert. And Samantha's kind of coordinating it from Magnolia Arena. Just, she said she's talked with 300 businesses and everyone there is supportive of it. And she was just requesting to be able to close the street through the event Saturday, from 12 to 9:30. And there's also a new one on August 8th. It's going to be a gospel concert on the square where the stage is typically located. And there's nothing needed except the stage.
The only thing that I'm a little perplexed about is that we are spending a nice chunk of change on the wonderful entertainment on the square, which is from 7 until the fireworks start. So, I mean, I support my small businesses anytime, but I wish people would come from there. I mean, we either have nothing or we have more going on than, well, anyway, you all approve it. I just don't
What
quite
time is
understand.
that, the one?
The date's wrong, it's the 28th.
To open that street, Chad, her music is from 12 to 9:30 at night.
From 12
noon.
noon to 9:30 at night?
Mhm.
Yeah, actually having multiple blueberry places throughout the day.
And see, our concert starts at 7 and ends around 8:45 in time for fireworks. And it's quite an exceptional concert. I mean,
Where is her band gonna be?
There at the top of, I think it's gonna occupy probably, isn't it the top? I imagine it'll occupy that side, won't it?
It'll be on the, down the street just a little bit, if I understand correctly, in between the two buildings.
Well, we could just okay it for a certain specified amount of time, not to interfere. Because having engaged and somebody having given the money, I noticed in the paper.
Yes.
For that concert, I would be in favor. I mean, I hadn't even thought about that, and I saw that in the packet, but I wasn't even paying attention to the time, actually. I was just thinking of daytime, really. We could, I think, in all fairness to the previously engaged entertainer, which I think the main attraction, let's put it that way. In fairness to the main attraction, we could just limit them to, say,
From 12 to 7.
12, what was their beginning hour?
We wanted to do 12 to
1 to
12.
12 noon to 11.
Okay, 12 to 6. And say that was all. And then they would have to stop to, to stop entertaining at 6, whatever you want, open the road back up, whatever. They'd have to move along. I think that's fair. I'd be in favor of that because I do think that would detract from the.
Something that we booked
Yeah.
it a year ago.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's an exceptional concert, isn't it, Danny?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I mean,
I just
it's,
think that's a little unfair.
She's obviously, for 9 hours of music, she's obviously got several bands coming.
apparently.
Wouldn't you got approval prior to?
Well,
going
she
ahead?
was told that this event was already planned and she frankly didn't care. So.
Okay.
And we're just now having an opportunity to grant that request.
Well, I think from 12 until 6:30 is, I mean, our event should be important enough to take priority.
I agree. I don't think we should take away from what's going on with Sparta.
No, I don't either. And you know, and like somebody said a minute ago, looks like she would have asked earlier. You know, sort of coordinated just a little bit.
Well, was it last week or when was it she asked?
About 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and she was told, we have this other event. So,
I mean, I'm all about it. It's just wrong time.
well, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't understand
Yeah,
because.
I don't, the timing is not good.
I think we should just,
12 to 6, or what do you want to say, 12 to
6.
6?
6 hours, I think, is plenty, I think it's a generous amount of time. And that gives them a chance to move their equipment and move away before for the main stage, if you want to call it that, begins their concert.
Are we in agreement on that?
Yes, I
Okay.
think so.
Thank you. So you'll convey that to her.
I will.
Thank you.
And just real quick, that other one, this is a typo, it's actually on the gospel church, Western State, so the sheet was wrong.
Okay, so
That's it.
we approve that.
We're gonna have gospel, we're gonna have COVID, everything on eight.
Sorry, my mistake.
Okay, so
And that
have,
one's the 28th and not the 8th.
Have we-
Gospel Church, Western State.
okay, so we've approved that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My report really is brief. We all know about the July 3rd. We've just finished talking about it. We will be presenting a very nice proclamation honoring Sharon McIntosh. And I don't know that you've had a chance to see it. I'll pass this down, but I will just read one or two of the paragraphs, which Heather did a wonderful job working on this for us. We tried to get her enough information, and she certainly did us proud. Okay, so it basically says that, in essence, that Sharon McIntosh, a lifelong resident of Yancey County and 30 years a veteran of the Yancey County Rescue Squad, saw a need in the Burnsville and Yancey County community to find ways to recognize, honor, and celebrate local heroes whose sacrifices for community and country should always be remembered. Now, there's some other great paragraphs in there, but I'm just going to skip down to where it says, Whereas some of the notable projects and events that Sharon invested her time, heart, and soul are the annual Hero Day and Parade, flyovers, concerts, cruise-ins, motorcycle rides, and photographic memorial displays celebrating those she called hometown heroes. Whereas all who have been helped by Sharon in these endeavors of kindness and who have been touched by her willingness and spirit to honor others are appreciative of the time, thought, and effort she put into each and every event. Therefore, the town of Burnsville and so on and so forth do hereby express sincere appreciation and gratitude for Sharon McIntosh's passionate citizenship, dedication, and commitment to the recognition and celebration of Yancey County's hometown heroes, both present and past. I mean, it is very nicely, and I think she will like it. And you've approved that we do this, so we don't have to take action on this. But I just wanted to, here, I'll pass it down to share this with you. We'll present it to her before Mr. Brian Girl begins his concert. So, and Jody, I don't know if you can be there to take a picture of that. That would be very nice. Presenting to Sharon McIntosh right at the beginning of the concert. Okay, thank you very much. And let's see, where is that? Well, so we'll move on to Jamie McMahon. We will now hear from you, sir. Please.
Would beg your consideration on one item of business pertaining to the appointment of your member to the EDC board for the next 3-year term. The Local Economic Development Act of North Carolina provides a maximum of 9 members for local economic development commissions. Our commission has 9 members. The agreement between the town and the county provides that 2 of those seats are up every year. The seats are 3-year terms, and it's actually sort of weird. So if it's a seat the county's appointed before, it's the town's turn to appoint that position. Makes for a nice little matrix. I color coded, have to spend 15 minutes looking at and thinking about it. I don't remember what I wrote down, but it's an interesting scenario to keep up with. But nevertheless, this year, the seat for consideration for the town's appointment is the seat that is to be filled by a member from the education sector. And that seat is currently occupied by Cindy. Cindy is, of course, the CTE director for Yancey County Schools, has been for a number of years. She's a great fit for us in economic development. Her work in CTE education, of course, is geared for workforce development. She's always been a great member. My board requested that her name be put to you as a recommendation for you for consideration for reappointment to that seat. She has consented to serve another term, and if it be your pleasure, I will put that to you.
Okay.
For your consideration.
All right.
You need a motion?
He does.
I make a motion.
I will second it.
Again.
And it's unanimous.
Thank you so much.
You
I
need to-
appreciate that. She's certainly a great asset, always attends. 3 things quickly I'll share with you. First of all, I would commend you for your decision to move forward with the IDEX lab students at App State on the project. Just thinking now, been at this job 13 years now, in a period of time, secured funding for it, worked with a lot of architects, contractors, engineers, and for a project of suitable size and scope, you're going to get more than your money's worth there for $5,000 a semester. The work product that they provided us, is just phenomenal. Those students did a great job. So I think that you'll be well served by your partnership with them and looking to continue their involvement here in the community and the enthusiasm that the universities have about continuing to remain here in Yancey County and do projects with their students. It certainly speaks highly of the community. I had a chance to meet with their outgoing dean, and they actually had commended their partnership with us, both, future endeavors they've considered. They did a workforce housing project with us this past year as well. This has been a highlight of their alumni publication this year. So I wholeheartedly appreciate you endorsing moving forward with them. I think that's good service. We applied for a grant through the Department of Commerce for building reuse project with Mountain Community Health Partners for their Burnsville Clinic, which is to be located at 300 Pensacola Road. You may remember that building they employed for sort of COVID purposes this past year for testing and vaccination. Now that their need for that purpose has sort of ebbed, they're ready to move forward and turn that into a full service clinic. So we have applied Department of Commerce for $200,000 grant to support that. It's about a $500,000 renovation of that building. In consideration for those grant funds, MCHP is guaranteeing 16 positions, new hires for their organization. That will include a new physician, either MD or PA, a new clinical pharmacist, new behavioral health practitioner, 4 nurses, 4 office staff, a number of other medical assistants. It's a good number of people to staff a general practice clinic here. I'm certainly, from EDC's point of view, excited about any opportunity we have to grow the number of healthcare providers here and increase the number of opportunities that our people have to broaden that service, and certainly appreciative of CHP wanting to extend their footprint in Burnsville in addition to the clinic in Seymour. So we hope to hear from funding on that from the Department of Commerce about $24. And they're ready to get started on their project, that renovation, as soon as they possibly can. We received notification yesterday from USDA that the grant application we had submitted for funding through their Rural Business Development Grant Program to fund a study to look at potential sites for joint industrial park development with Mitchell County had been approved. We'll be signing that agreement. That will allow us to consider up to 8 sites if we have a site that's suitable for both of us to look to partner with. We'll certainly do that. Worst case scenario, we'll pay for a site assessment for sites here in Yancey County and move forward individually. Folks in Mitchell County, I will commend for being enthusiastic and open to the idea of considering partnership. Certainly for us as rural communities, if we can combine our dollars, so much the better. We could have the potential of developing a much larger piece of property and being more successful at competing for business recruitment than if we did it alone.
Well, but now, Jamie, they also know that we, through you, get results.
Well, it's kind of you to say.
It's a fact.
I have asked Heather, I mentioned to her today that in addition that there's an MOU that's signed through the counties. They appointed a joint committee of members from the EDC board and members from the respective county commissions to work with a site consultant. I've asked Heather and a representative from the council time to participate in that conversation as well, because whatever we look at doing as far as developing an industrial site, whether we do it alone or whether we do it in tandem with Mitchell County, certainly has a water and sewer infrastructure impact that goes along with it. And so it's certainly sensible that we have your input from the front end as the consultant begins to make those evaluations. But we plan to sign an agreement with them and get started on that this month. So that's probably enough for me, unless you have specific questions about anything.
Just give us a quick, I do mean quick, update on the farmer's market. I mean, how's it moving along?
So grading is supposed to be completed by September 20th. We ran into a little delay with moving that along as quickly as we'd like, because as you know, we received CDBG money to pay for it.
Yeah.
As Heather will readily tell you, if you're trying to, well, you just had this conversation, that money you've expected already. We expected permission to draw that money down and spend it a heck of a lot quicker than we got.
Gotcha.
And that's because, in their defense, the folks at Commerce are distracted with trying to put money out, both the CARES Act money, ARPA money. So we had a delay in being permitted to spend those funds. That's pushed us back a little.
Okay.
So grading happens by September. We have to have footers foundations for October. And then we'll move on with what we can do. You heard from Jason that their plan is to complete construction in the spring term of next year. So that's sort of the timeline. It still should allow us to have really let the time for farmers market occupy.
Sounds good. Thank you
That's
very
the
much.
timeline, it's in its current state.
Okay.
I have a question. Per the inquiry at the beginning of the meeting, I noticed this question about the farmer's market and parking. There is a Wednesday farmer's market now, and it had been, I noticed, over behind the Amish store. And then, you know, I don't get up early on Saturday morning. I don't go to the farmer's market. I'm sorry. But is that a move that's going to be a Saturday and a Wednesday location? Is that just a Wednesday location now? I noticed at the brewery.
That's the Wednesday farmers market.
That's just a Wednesday farmer's
Right.
market, but
Yeah.
we still are going to have the Saturday farmer's
Yeah.
market right at the
Right.
parking lot.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know
Right.
what exactly his concern was. Was his concern with the parking for that Wednesday parking
I guess maybe. in
farmer's
general,
market today?
What's his concern?
It was for when this
When
was
they
built
built,
down here.
yeah.
Oh, it was
Here.
his, oh, it's,
The new
oh,
one.
Right.
it's
the
at
new
the
one.
resource center. he was
Right,
at.
right, would there be ample
Oh,
parking?
excuse me. Oh, well, that's terminology then.
Right.
He was calling it the farmer's market when he's really speaking to the resource, a new
Right.
resource. Okay, because I thought he was talking about where the little blue tents were
No, no, I
Wednesday
think that's
afternoon.
what I understood you were talking about.
Excuse me. All right, that answers my question.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Well, thank you
Thank you,
very
Jamie.
much, Jamie. Very good report. Excuse me. Okay, oh, last but not least. Christy Jones.
Thank you for that introduction, Madam Mayor. Thank you guys for having me. The chamber has been busy bringing people into town, and I'll speak to the fact that our COVID numbers aren't as good as the surrounding counties because we've got too many tourists here. I'd like to thank you guys for approving the closure of the streets for the craft fair. I'm not sure what I would have done with all those vendors. Speaking of that, I am close to, I've got all the vendors placed. We are set to go, and I think I've got all my ducks in a row.
How many vendors, Christy, so far?
176.
Oh, my goodness.
Assuming I don't have any cancellations and don't have to find a new vendor, hopefully. This past month, we have had advertising in the Blue Ridge Digest, our state magazine, the Asheville Maid, Laurel of Asheville Summertimes, and I'm getting ready to have a promo on WNCW, an NPR station in the Charlotte area, and then some digital ads on our state, promoting the craft fair and and tourism in the area. And then, I guess in 2 weeks, I'll be heading down to Greensboro, South Carolina to do a live interview about the craft fair and outdoor activities available in the county. So,
Right.
And Christie, I saw the piece from Johnson City.
yeah, the
Yeah.
driving in the daytime.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was good.
That one's good. The WRAL out of Raleigh was really good. And I do have that footage that we own. And we'll be able to use that in the future for other advertising, and I'll be playing it in the office until I have to shut it off because I'm tired of hearing it. But at least it's about a 3 to 4 minute clip, so it'll take me a lot longer to get tired of it than it did that 30-second clip I've got going in there now. We had a good turnout for our last after hours at the Art Gallery this past month, and are ready for our next one on July 15th. It'll be at the MW Studios, and we also had a good turnout for our business breakfast. I'd like to thank the town for partnering with us on helping support that with EDC and Mayland. We had 15 people there, and we got some really good input. And look forward to having the next one on July 22nd. And Alan will be coming back with some programming for that.
Great. He's wonderful.
He is. He definitely is. It was a good turnout. I thought we got some really good input from people about what they'd like to get information about and education opportunities on. We've got all new signs at the chamber, facing all three directions, both up and down East and West Main Street, and then out the front. When you notice the front one, you'll also notice that there needs to be some stucco repair done. So don't assume I don't know that it's looking a little rough on the front right now. So I've got all set for bits on that. But besides that, I've got a ribbon cutting next week for a Mountain Time Amish warehouse that's going to be opening at 605 East Main Street. So Wednesday, July 7th at 5:30 if you're available. We'd love to have you out there. Any questions?
Well, you're being very busy.
605 East.
Yeah, I'll read it.
I don't know any other way to be.
Well, thank you for your good report. And I just want to add that in this month's our state magazine, on that insert of the places and things.
The dark sky insert.
Well,
Oh, no.
well, I'm talking about things to eat. It's
Oh,
very
yes.
nice. Do note that there's a full page about Coletta ice cream.
Yeah, Uncle Tony's, I think.
Which goes back to my grandfather's creation there in Gastonia. But it's wonderful ice cream. If you're ever in Gastonia, you just stop in at one of Tony's and tell them the mayor sent you, and they'll give you free ice cream. I promise they will.
Well, it's the grape ice cream.
Yeah, and, well, they show a nice picture of the grape, which is, believe it or not, is the most popular flavor. And of course, they played on the fact that grape ice cream, Italians, wine, that's a logical winner. But anyway, that's enough said about that. But I just thought I'd tell you that if you are ever in the area and you want some ice cream, just tell them I sent you and they'll give you plenty. Well, thank you for listening to me.
That isn't it?
And really, to me, their best flavor is vanilla. Nobody makes vanilla like they do. But anyway, thank you very much, Christy. Always good to hear from you. Okay, we have no closed session. Now our next council meeting will be on Tuesday, July the 3rd, and August the 3rd. And Judy, I will need to ask that you preside. I will not be able to attend. So you're being given a heads up.
Well, Chad can
He'll
help
take
me
care.
out.
Ask him to take care of you, and he says he will.
Oh,
So,
he's good at that.
okay, so having said that, it's been a good meeting. Thank you. You and Danny held out to the end with some of these others. Thank you very much. I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Oh.
Whoa, that's good so far.
Oh,
I've got a bad